Hey guys, Professor Ader here. When we last left off in class, we were talking about the 7 Days Battle and firing George McClellan, who, if you remember, no one thinks better of George McClellan than George McClellan. We're going to continue on this. We're going to have a 3 or 4 part video series to get you guys caught up on the Civil War. Let's get started. The Northern strategy for the entirety of the Civil War is what they call the Anaconda Plan. Basically, like an anaconda, the North wants to surround the South and then slowly strangle them into submission. One of the ways they're going to do this is they're going to try to free the slaves and have those slaves being free is almost like a taunt to the South. They're going to try to cut the Confederacy up. They're going to actually cut the Confederacy by the Mississippi. They're going to take Arkansas, Louisiana, and Texas and try to separate it. That also will give them control of the Mississippi River. And they're going to try to, in addition, they're then going to start kind of slicing the South up into pieces until there's almost nothing left. They're also going to try to obviously take the capital of Richmond. And that last point is going to come into play when we get to Burnside and eventually Grant. Their idea is that you fight the strength of the opponent. Because if their best is here and their second best is here, and you can beat their best, then the opponent has to rely on their second best, which isn't nearly as good. This is a political cartoon of the time. This is a plan made by General Winfield Scott, that first commander of the Army of the Potomac, the Union forces, showing kind of what they think is going to happen. The Second Battle of Bull Run, we talked about the fact that there was a first battle, so there has to be a second battle. Basically, same thing happens. Confederate forces under General Lee, they're going to fight against General Pope, and in the same place, the same thing happens. The Union is the loser of the battle, and the Confederates win. At sea, this is something I talked about pretty extensively, so I'm not going to go that much that deep into it. But the South was kind of expecting that cotton and their cotton trade would kind of support them. When the Union blockades or tries to keep boats from leaving and entering the ports, that really puts a damper on the trade for the South. What the South ends up doing is getting smaller boats that are quicker, that can kind of navigate these blockades. The problem is smaller boats can't carry as much. So even though they are successful, they're not trading nearly as much. And the trade that they are doing isn't making enough money for the South. And that's one of the reasons the cotton ends up failing. The Confederates do find an old northern ship that the North had seen that the Confederates were kind of advancing on this place. They sank the ship intentionally, but they don't sink it very well. It's still sticking up out of the water. The Confederates raise it, they fix it, they put some iron plates on it. They called it an ironclad. It was the Merrimack, now it's the Virginia. The Union also is going to do this to one of their boats called the Monitor. In 1862, these two boats battle. And I compare it in class to the difference between shooting someone with a bullet and kind of taking and throwing a bullet at them. The iron plates on these ships cause cannonballs to just kind of bounce off. And at the Battle of Hampton Roads, you have the Confederate States ship CSS Virginia versus the United States ship Monitor fighting. The Monitor almost looks like a submarine. It's a really interesting design for a boat. Then we have the Battle of Shiloh. At the Battle of Shiloh, General Grant is going to try to take the junction of two railroads, north and south, and an east and west railroad, and he's going to try to take control of this because you control the railroads, you control one of the means of transportation and the means of getting supplies places. Terrible battle, a lot of death and destruction, but the Confederate forces stop him, and this is one of Grant's first losses that we've really seen. However, with them fighting in Shiloh, it does allow the Union to take New Orleans, which arguably is more important. It's the mouth of the Mississippi River. You can control what comes out of the Mississippi if you control the mouth of the river. This also means that they control all of the Mississippi except for Vicksburg, which is in Mississippi. And we'll talk about that later. Guys, this is the first slide of the next video. You can go over to that video. The link to that will be down in the scooter parking below this video. Once you're done with that video, the link to that video will be in the scooter parking below that video. Thank you, guys.